Have you ever noticed how impossible it is to look away from a car accident? How you slow down to get a better look? Or how millions of people watch horror films, action movies with oceans of blood, crime news? How the most popular series are stories about serial killers, wars, violence? Game of Thrones, Breaking Bad, True Detective, ratings skyrocket precisely in moments when blood is spilling on screen. And here's the uncomfortable question nobody wants to ask out loud. Why does this attract us so much? Why do peaceful, normal people who wouldn't hurt a fly spend hours watching fictional violence and derive pleasure from it? Why in ancient Rome did tens of thousands gather in the arena to watch gladiators kill each other? Why did public executions draw crowds like modern concerts? Society says, this is abnormal. This is a deviation. Normal people shouldn't be interested in violence. But statistics say the opposite. The absolute majority is interested. So the problem isn't with individual perverts. The problem, or feature, is in human nature itself. And while we pretend it's not so, we don't understand ourselves. I'll show you 7 reasons why humans are drawn to violence and bloodlust. I won't justify, won't condemn, just explain what's happening in your brain. Prepare yourself for the uncomfortable truth about who you really are. Reason 1. Evolutionary heritage, you're a descendant of surviving predators. Here's what they won't tell you in history class. Your ancestors weren't kind herbivores peacefully gathering berries. Your ancestors are those who survived, and it wasn't the kindest who survived. Those who survived were the ones who could kill to avoid being killed, who knew how to recognize danger, react quickly to threats, apply violence to protect themselves and their tribe. Humans are predators, not metaphorically, but literally. We hunted animals for thousands of years, killed them, butchered them, ate them, and not just for survival. Hunting was a central social ritual. A successful hunter gained status, respect, the best partners for reproduction. The capacity for violence was a competitive advantage. Your brain was formed in conditions where the ability to quickly assess danger was a matter of life and death. That's why you instinctively pay attention to threat, to blood, to violence. This isn't perversion, it's a survival mechanism. Your brain says, attention, danger, study this so you know how to act if you encounter it yourself. When you watch an action movie or horror film, the ancient part of your brain is training. It's modeling danger scenarios in safe conditions. It's like a survival simulator. You're not a sadist, you're just a descendant of those who knew how to foresee and avoid violence, and for that, you needed to understand it. Reason 2. Adrenaline, the chemistry that makes you feel alive. Boredom kills, literally. Routine, predictability, the grayness of ordinary life dulls the senses. You function on autopilot. Home, work, home, sleep, repeat. And at some point, you stop feeling alive. You just exist. Violence on screen is an adrenaline rush without real danger. When you watch an intense chase scene, a fight, a shootout, your body reacts as if to a real threat. Heart beats faster, breathing quickens, pupils dilate, adrenaline, cortisol, dopamine are released. You feel alive, excited, alert, real. This is a drug, legal, socially acceptable, but a drug. Your brain gets a chemical cocktail that's unavailable in ordinary life, and it demands repetition. That's why you turn on a thriller again, seek sharp sensations again, want to feel that energy surge again. People who condemn lovers of horrors and action films often get adrenaline other ways: extreme sports, fast driving, gambling. The only difference is the source, but the biochemistry is the same. You crave intensity of experience, and violence on screen gives it without real consequences. Reason 3. Catharsis, releasing the inner beast through the screen. You have a dark side inside, admit it. Anger, rage, a desire to hit someone who wronged you, revenge fantasies, thoughts you'd never voice aloud because society would condemn them, but they're there, in everyone. Civilization demands suppression of aggression. You can't hit your boss even if he's a jerk, can't punish the neighbor who parks like an idiot, can't respond with violence to injustice you see every day. You suppress, 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 and this tension accumulates. Violence on screen is a safe valve. You live out aggression through characters. When the hero beats the villain, your brain experiences satisfaction as if you restored justice. This is called catharsis, emotional purification through experiencing strong feelings. Research shows people who watch aggressive films often become less aggressive in real life because they let off steam, released tension. It's a paradox that doesn't fit in moralists' heads. Violence on screen can prevent violence in reality. Not always, not for everyone, but the mechanism works. You're not sick if you love watching John Wick avenge his dog. You're just a human who found a safe way to deal with natural aggression that all primates have. Reason 4. Safe exploration of taboo, investigating the forbidden without consequences. The human brain is absurdly curious. We want to know everything, especially what's forbidden. What's beyond the boundary of permissible? What's it like to kill? To be a victim? What do people feel in extreme situations? In ordinary life, you have no way to find out. You can't go and commit violence to research your reaction. It's illegal, immoral, destructive. But curiosity doesn't go away, and art provides the answer. You can explore the dark side of human nature through fiction. Films about serial killers, documentaries about crimes, books about war. All these are ways to look into the abyss without risk of falling into it. You study the psychology of violence, criminals' motives, mechanisms of evil, not because you want to become that way, but because you want to understand what if. It's like looking at a precipice from a safe distance. Scary, thrilling, but you know you won't fall. Taboos exist to be explored, not violated, explored. And violence in art gives this opportunity. Moreover, understanding the dark side makes you more prepared. You know what humans are capable of. You're not naive. You don't think the world consists only of kind people. This knowledge, oddly enough, makes you safer.
Reason 5. Group identity. Us versus them. Here's the most unpleasant truth about human nature. We're tribal creatures. We divide the world into ours and theirs. And evolution programmed us to protect our own and be wary of others. In extreme cases, to destroy others. Human history is a history of conflicts between groups. Tribe against tribe. People against people, religion against religion, ideology against ideology. And violence was the tool of these conflicts. Groups that knew how to mobilize and apply violence more effectively survived. Those who couldn't disappeared. When you watch a war movie and root for our side against enemies, an ancient mechanism of group identity activates. You experience satisfaction when ours win, even if through violence, because at a subconscious level, your group's victory means survival. Football fans fight not because they're crazy, but because sports activate the same tribal identity mechanism. We against them. And violence is perceived as defending tribal honor. Absurd? From the standpoint of reason, yes. But evolution didn't ask reason. Love of battle scenes, wars in cinema, team confrontations. These are echoes of that very instinct. Protect your tribe, defeat the other. You're not a militarist. You're just a carrier of genes that helped your ancestors survive in a world of endless conflicts. Reason 6. Hierarchy and dominance. The stronger rules. Primates, and humans are primates, live in hierarchies. Someone's at the top, someone's at the bottom. And position in the hierarchy is determined by the ability to dominate. Physically, intellectually, socially, doesn't matter. What matters is who can suppress whom. Violence is the most ancient tool for establishing dominance. The male wins a fight, gets status. Status gives access to resources, females, power. This worked for millions of years and shaped our brain. When you watch violence, part of your brain evaluates who's stronger, who dominates, who's worth allying with, who should be feared. This is instinctual social analysis. You don't think about it consciously, but the ancient brain works. That's why people love watching strong, dominant characters. Vito Corleone, Tony Soprano, Walter White. They all use violence to establish control, and the viewer experiences satisfaction watching the success of a dominant figure, because subconsciously identifies with power. This doesn't mean you want to be a gangster. It means your brain respects power, because power meant survival. And observing a demonstration of power activates ancient schemes of hierarchy evaluation. Reason 7. Control over fear of death. Face to face with horror. The deepest level. People watch violence and death because they fear death. Terribly fear. Existential fear that sits in every human. I will die. Everyone I love will die. Life is fragile and can end at any moment. This fear paralyzes if you don't learn to live with it. And one strategy is to meet it face to face in controlled conditions. Horror film, thriller, news about disasters. These are ways to look death in the eyes without dying yourself. When you watch horror and survive, emotionally, psychologically, you train resilience. You prove to yourself, I can meet horror and not break. It's like a vaccine. A small dose of fear makes you more resilient to real fear. People who love horrors are often calmer in real stressful situations because they've already experienced the worst many times in a safe environment. Their nervous system is trained. This isn't masochism. This is psychological preparation. Violence and death on screen remind life is precious precisely because it's finite. And paradoxically, this makes you value life more, not less. Summary. Why people love violence. First, evolutionary heritage. You're a descendant of surviving predators. Attention to violence is a survival mechanism. Second, adrenaline and chemistry of excitement. Violence on screen gives intensity of experience absent in gray life. Third, catharsis and release of aggression. Safe way to deal with suppressed rage without real consequences. Fourth, exploring taboo. Curiosity for the forbidden, studying the dark side without risk. Fifth, group identity. Tribal instinct, us versus them, protecting your group. Sixth, hierarchy and dominance. Evaluating strength, respecting dominant figures, ancient social analysis. Seventh, control over fear of death. Meeting horror in safe conditions, psychological training. Main point. Interest in violence isn't a deviation. It's part of human nature formed by millions of years of evolution. Understanding this doesn't justify real violence, but explains why fictional violence is so attractive. You're not sick, you're just human. Subscribe to learn more uncomfortable truths about human nature.